crime. From cold cases to serial killers, missing persons, and more.
100% he did this.
I'd go off into fantasy world.
How much more lucky can you get that you're not on death row?
You want to know what we know.
My name is Jay. This is Guilty of Crime.
Hello, everybody. I'm on early today. I saw a few people in chat and I figured, I want to get this out there. This is not just a drama story. There was actually little boys involved in this, and that's what brings me here. I like covering all the cases that we've been covering, and it's nonstop for Madeline Soto and Sebastian Rogers, but I have to stop for a moment and look at the cases that we've looked at before. And the first thing I notice as I see all this, because this is a drama-filled case today. Let's look at Kouri Richins. You're going to see her a whole bunch here, but you're also going to see that there actually was a family involved. Now, I've done other episodes. I'll say hi to you all. Sarah, hello. Thank you for being a new member. For anybody that's here early, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody. Carrie, hello. What's up, Davey? Anna, Melissa, thank you for hitting the like button, everybody. And I've got a bunch of new members here. Sandy, Deb, Susie, Callie, nice name. Kelly Kershid, Jay Murray, what's up? Erica Fine, hello. Lynette Capozio, and Sylvie Peters, new member. So I'm saying hello. You left your DNA. Yes, we want to leave our DNA when we're doing good things, right? All of us want to leave our DNA when we're doing good. I've been dying to cover this case, no pun intended. This one's a little, it's terrible, but it's a little bit easier to report on than when it's a kid that you're reporting on. Now, there was kids in this case, but luckily they made it out alive. I'm glad Kouri Richins didn't do Chris Watts, which normally we do Watts Wednesdays, but I've been so busy. What's up, Kenzie Cush from GB, Great Britain? Yeah, hello to everybody. So this case has kids involved, and it's got a lot involved, actually. That's why I wanted to come on today, because we're talking about Kouri Richins. And the big deal for me is, well, number one, the big deal is we need to get justice for Eric Richins. Now, the author is what they call her, a children's book author. I think that's really what got her caught. I don't think anything had to do good with her authoring. I'll get rid of this in a second. Now, if you look here, she did write a children's book, and right after she wrote that, she got caught. There's 3 beautiful boys here that now don't have a dad, and this lady's causing a whole bunch of drama. So I don't blame Skylar wanting to get rid of this case, but there's a whole bunch more. So that's the breaking news on there. There's children involved. This lady wrote a freaking book right after she did that, and then she gets caught. So I'm going to do more than just talk. I got a lot to cover today. What I'm going to do is show you this quick snippet from Grizzly, because she's always on top of it. And if you go to Grizzly True Crime after this, you can watch and consume all you want to all day long about Kouri Richins. She's been covering the heck out of it. So with that being said, I will share this really quickly. What happened? Breaking news. Sky Lazaro, man, I like her as an attorney. So I think her quitting is a big deal, folks. It's a big deal because I think that Sky Lazaro, thank you, Grizzly True Crime. I've been consuming her content nonstop. Saturday, I found out about this, but I've been busy with other cases like Madeline Soto. May she get justice. All right. So Kouri Richins now needs a new attorney. That's the breaking news. The judge has granted Sky Lazaro and their team a motion to withdraw. irreconcilable and non-waivable situation. All right, so she lost something good. Let me tell you, Skylar Zaro is a little bit nutty and loud, but guess what? She does a job. Hello. So let's get into this because I want to start off with, let me start off with showing you sad Kouri Richins. She is sad, actually. And I do believe everybody has an opinion. I have mine. So everything I say at this point is alleged, folks. You know, it's alleged. And allegedly, this woman, Kouri Richins, unalived Eric Richins by poisoning him. Now, on Saturday, the breaking news was that the law firm, I don't know why I keep doing this, sorry, law firm defending Kouri Richins seeks to withdraw for irreconcilable, I can't even say that, irreconcilable situation. Now we know this sad woman got dropped by Skylar Zaro, who's a bulldog. All right, so representatives of the law firm defending Kouri Richins filed a motion to withdraw from the case, and the judge granted it. Now, breaking news was Saturday, and I believe by Sunday or Monday, done. So Friday, May 17th, the motion was filed, and by Monday, they were off. So all I could say is she had a bulldog, and I was speculating that maybe it was because she ran out of money. But now, if you see all the things going on, we're going to talk about her lover. Now she has a lover that we know about and all these other crazy things. We're going to talk about her mom, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and so much more. Let's start with this clip. Actually, you know what? I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to start with just an opening recap. There's so much on this case. It's hard for me to, it's like a Sarah Boone merry-go-round, folks. I don't even know where to start on this, but we will start with a recap in court. We're kind of going to jump back and forth because I want to talk about her lover. I want to talk about the defense attorney quitting, and I want to talk about, justice for Eric, but I also want to talk about what's going to happen next and all the madness, the walk the dog letter, as much as I can get in.
The mom accused of fatally poisoning her husband with fentanyl and later writing a book about grief, appearing back in court one last time Monday before a critical preliminary hearing. Wearing a red turtleneck and black blazer, Kouri Richins remaining silent as the murder case against her enters its next phase, with prosecutors now laying out what they say is the evidence against her. In new filings, investigators saying the 34-year-old mom of three was financially motivated to kill her husband, Eric, that she owed more than $3 million the day he died, and that she was having an extramarital affair and wanted a divorce. The prosecution says a witness says Kouri told them it would be better if Eric Richins was dead. The realtor was arrested last year after first.
All right, so they call her a realtor, they call her an author. I call her a criminal. I call her a murderer. I think she poisoned her husband. Again, everything I say is alleged and for entertainment purposes only. So I don't have any, stake in any of these cases or anything, but I do see it and I do call it how I see it. That's an eerie picture right there. Let's listen and we'll talk about it. It's so weird. I didn't know she had a lover at first, and I see that there was a text message the night of the murder.
Appearing on local television to promote a children's book she wrote inspired by her husband's death in 2022.
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year.
But a month after that interview, investigators charged her with murder. According to court documents, the night her husband died, Kouri told police she had made Eric a Moscow Mule that he drank in their bed. Autopsy results later finding he had 5 times the lethal amount of fentanyl in his system.
5 times the lethal dose is not accidental, Your Honor. That is someone who wants Eric dead.
His family later telling investigators Eric believed Kouri may have tried to poison him more than once.
Now, if you guys know this case, he told his family that when they went on a trip, she put something in his sandwich and he was immediately sick. So this man was dedicated to his family, and this evil lady was trying to get rid of him. And then she did, and then she wrote a book about it. And luckily, she's behind bars, but she's causing a bunch of shenanigans. Yes, Kenzie, the sandwich. Thank you guys for being here with me today. I appreciated it. I really wanted to finished covering this case, and so many things came out, but I also wanted it to be a chill night, not too much, not the chat flying, 500-600 people, just where we can chill. So thank you. A lot of people know about this. People don't. Yeah, well, it is poisoning if it's an OD, definitely. But we don't exactly know what it is. I guess, yeah, it would be poisoning because he didn't do it himself. I guess. That's interesting. The good calling out. But I would say it would be poisoning. And women tend to do poisoning when that's their like weapon of choice. If you study any serial killers or women that unalive, I already said it, their husband, they like to use poisoning.
He felt like Kouri was trying to kill him, and that if he did die, that she should be investigated for that.
Kouri has not yet entered a formal plea, but she and her family say she is innocent.
She loved Eric. She loved her family more than anything.
Kouri back in court for 2 hearings this week, a judge ruling that a divorce attorney she met with can't be forced to testify about what they discussed. Meanwhile, Kouri sentenced to time served in a separate misdemeanor assault charge stemming from a confrontation she had with her husband's sister shortly after his death.
Now, Chanel, prosecutors have laid out nearly 40 pages of evidence against her, including a witness who says she tried to buy fentanyl from them. As for tomorrow, a judge will look at all the evidence and hear from witnesses to determine whether there is enough to go to trial. If that happens.
All right. So that happened and it got pushed back, folks. So I hit that button twice. That's funny. And she is manipulative. We're going to hear about all of it. We're going to hear about the apple doesn't fall far from the tree because her mother also did that with her lover. They keep calling it that, but it was her girlfriend. I don't know what they're afraid to say, but let's talk about her facing additional charges, and then we'll go just kind of in order, out of order, because this story is crazy. When you're telling it, it's like, well, what do I get to first? Because there's so many things going on. It is like Sarah Boone. It definitely reminds me of Sarah Boone, but I'm not super invested where I'm going to spend all the time because I know she's probably going to get convicted with the evidence they have, and she keeps getting herself in trouble, folks.
I just wanted some story to read to my kids at night, and I just could not find anything. I couldn't find anything that really, suited them or helped them find comfort and peace. And so,
by the way, folks, she had a ghost writer. She did not write the book for herself even. So, and there's some eerie things in the book. Like when you look at the hat, the name of the company was like C&C or whatever it was. And she took her husband, Eric, C&E. She took the E off, and just certain eerie things that happened in this case. But let's listen to the other charges that she's facing. And then we'll talk about her mom. And this lady's causing herself to get convicted, and she lost a good attorney. Sky, you can say what you want about Sky Lazaro, but she is a bulldog.
I was like, let's just write one.
That is Kouri Richins, the Utah mom of 3 accused of fatally poisoning her husband with a fentanyl-laced Moscow Mule, then writing a children's book about grief, and then promoting it on TV. And just when you thought things couldn't get worse for her case, or maybe even more shocking, well, this might not have been the first time she allegedly drugged her husband, Eric. No. Richins is now facing 10 new charges, including attempted murder. You see, 2 years ago, on Valentine's Day, no less, Eric told a close friend that he nearly died after his wife bought him a sandwich from a diner for lunch. This is according to new charging documents. And he said he had to use his son's EpiPen and drink a bottle of Benadryl after breaking out in hives from just one bite, telling one witness, "You almost lost me," and another witness, "I think my wife tried to poison me." Now, the new documents state that opioids, including fentanyl, can cause allergic and pseudo-allergic reactions to include hives. Prosecutors revealed that Richins allegedly bought illicit fentanyl days before Valentine's Day, as well as days before Eric's death.
Happy Valentine's Day, husband. Here's a sandwich with a bunch of pills in it. I wonder how good it's going to taste. Anyway, he did eat it, and then he realized he was getting sick. And that's why she's being charged, and they know about this because he actually told his family, but he didn't leave for the sake of the boys. And now we know that she's having an affair, folks. We see a text message the night of his death. We see that she was texting her boyfriend. And do you know who her boyfriend was? The handyman. And you know how they broke up? Because she said he was using methamphetamines, and so she kicked him out, and now he's homeless. This is like a drama story and a nightmare. This lady is, apple doesn't fall far, folks.
Which was less than a month later. And on the night of his death, Richins and her supposed lover, yes, prosecutors claim she was having an affair, allegedly texted each other, "Love you." New charges also include insurance fraud, mortgage fraud, forgery, but still, Richins maintains their innocence. Back with me, criminal defense attorney Bernardo Villalona, trial attorney Misty Maris, and News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton. Misty, how do you defend this case at this point? I'm sorry, I know she isn't proven guilty, but my gosh, I mean, what's going on here?
All right, well, so now we have all of these.
See, it's not funny, but it's definitely more lighthearted, and I'm glad the children are still alive. I'm glad everybody is, they're probably with Eric Richins' family, because we know the mom was charged. Kouri Richins' mom was charged in another murder, which we're going to see in a bit. So the kids are probably with Eric's parents, hopefully thriving. They have money. Let's hope they're thriving, and glad that she didn't pull a Chris Watts, everybody. As we listen to this, let's think airy thoughts, and let's hope that she gets charged to the fullest. This lady's crazy. That's why they're laughing.
New charges, and I expect that one of the reasons prosecutors wanted to bring these charges in is because obviously it shows this pattern, and maybe they were concerned that they wouldn't be able to get that in without actual charges because there's hearsay issues. This is coming from a friend. It's what someone who's now deceased had told them. So I think this was a legal strategy on the part of the prosecution to build this even further, even all the suspicious activity, especially with respect to the finances, that part, you're taking out life insurance policies, the affair, all of that. But now this prior attempt that really helps set the stage for them on the murder charges.
I didn't mention in the intro, but I think I have to mention it now. The Lisa Darden aspect to this. Can we talk about that for a second? This is Kouri Richins' mother.
And we are going to get into that right next. We're going to go a little deeper about her mom doing the same thing and being there the morning of or the night of. It depends on how you feel about it.
Who we have learned new details about. So in a recently released warrant, this is number 4, if we could put this up. This is, again, Kouri Richins' mom. It was discovered that in 2006, Richins' mother, Lisa Darden, was living with an adult female with whom she was having a romantic relationship. In April of that year, her romantic partner died unexpectedly. Now let's go to number 5, if we can. This is also part of the search warrant based on Lisa Darden's proximity to her parents' partner's suspicious overdose death, and a relationship with Kouri. It is possible she was involved in planning and orchestrating Eric's death. Now, she hasn't been charged, Brian. What did you make of that development?
I mean, oh my gosh. So there could be even more twists and turns to this, and the family could be involved. It's crazy. The fact that it was Valentine's Day, first of all, that she had tried it before was shocking. That she asked the housekeeper for stronger fentanyl when it didn't work well the first time. And that I just think about this poor husband that he used, I think it was the daughter's EpiPen.
Yeah.
And after she had put allegedly the drugs in a sandwich.
What do you guys think about this case? If you're just getting in and rolling in, or you're chatting, let me know what you think about this case. Do you think that there's a possibility that they're not going to be able to prove this? I want you to know that it is a little hard to prove. She can say he was taking pills for his back. He was a man that worked doing construction. He owned a masonry business. So I'm wondering how they're going to prove this. I haven't heard a lot of the case details because we're so caught up in the drama. There are some details, definitely, but that's in the last episode. Let me know your thoughts on this if you know about the case.
Yeah,
and he thinks he's having some kind of allergic reaction.
But now with the mom, by the way, is that going to come into this trial at all? Unless she's charged, can the jury hear about Lisa Darden?
No, they're not going to hear about her unless they can find a direct link between Kouri Richins and what happened having to deal with Lisa. It's not going to come in. It's just too prejudicial. And
thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find new.
Wow, that's crazy. So that might not even come in, everybody. I want you to see who she is, and she talks about she actually talks to the news about this when her mother's being investigated. I'm going to play where she starts talking so you can see who she is.
Who knows, Kouri? She could not have done this. She'd never do this.
But now, a recently unsealed search warrant shows Summit County Detective Jeff O'Driscoll investigated those close to the couple, including Kouri's mom.
When she went back to get in her bed, he was cold.
He discovered back in April 2006, Lisa Darden's romantic partner died unexpectedly. The cause of death ruled drug poisoning from an overdose of oxycodone. O'Driscoll wrote further investigation showed that Lisa Darden had been named as the beneficiary of her partner's estate a short time before her death. The detective would go on to write in the search warrant, based on Lisa Darden's proximity to her partner's suspicious overdose death and her relationship with Kouri, it is possible she was involved in planning and orchestrating Eric's death. I asked a defense attorney, Nathan Evershed, who's not connected to this case, what these new...
Isn't that crazy? Because now they can bring the mom in and say that she helped her do it on top of Kouri already trying to do it once herself. They can say that her mom was there and she helped her because she did it before, but was never charged. And yes, Eric did have an autopsy and they found the stomach contents and all of that, but that doesn't mean that he didn't ingest it himself, right?
Details could mean.
This is a very legally juicy issue. This is something that is going to be investigated.
He says it becomes a question of...
Well, certainly one of the things that the government is going to point out to is just like, what are the just chances of this?
Right.
And I did reach out to Kouri Richins' defense attorney, Sky Lazaro. She shared a statement.
And she's no longer her defense attorney. Why? Because Kouri Richins is freaking too crazy for even Sky. Let's hear what she said.
With me, which reads in part, Summit County is well aware that opioid addiction, fentanyl overdose is a rampant problem throughout the country. The fact that Miss Darden's significant other was one of the millions that suffered from and ultimately succumbed to opioid addiction is hardly suspicious. It is tragic and unfortunately quite common. For the rest of that full statement, head to our news app.
Damn, that's crazy. I think Sky would have been her only shot, honestly, in getting out of it if she was going to. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Let's hear a little more about how we think her mom helped her and what they're saying about it in court. Now we know Sky Lazaro's gone, but you're going to see how she operates here. Let's watch this. This is interesting to me.
Before Kouri Richins' preliminary hearing, new documents claim her mom might be in on the alleged murder.
Nothing about this seems really surprising because...
And now that the documents came in, folks, that the jury will see it as long as the judge says there's enough evidence for the jury to see. So that will be good. They won't be a prejudicial thing if they found enough evidence.
We always felt that Kouri's mother was in some way involved in this.
That's Greg Skordas, the spokesperson for Eric Richins' family. Prosecutors believe Kouri killed Eric by allegedly poisoning him with fentanyl in 2022.
This is just more, I think, evidence against Kouri, even though it's purportedly looking at her mother.
Detectives discovered that in 2006, Kouri's mother, Lisa Darden's romantic partner, died unexpectedly. The cause of death was also a drug overdose. Just like Richins tried to do before Eric's death, Darden was named the beneficiary of her partner's estate. However, the woman who died was prescribed oxycodone and had a history of drug abuse. Investigators still don't believe her overdose was accidental and go on to say because of this, it's possible Darden was involved in planning and orchestrating Eric's death.
Parallels are really very similar and really kind of spooky.
Richins' attorney, Sky Lazaro, sent Fox 13 News a statement, first citing Summit County's fentanyl problem, then going on to say the 2006 overdose is, quote, hardly suspicious. It is tragic and unfortunately quite common.
All right. Yeah, that definitely, they're going for the same. I mean, they're just doing this weird overcap of like just an overstatement. And I don't know how that was going to play out, but now we're looking at a Sarah Boone type of situation. Let's listen to a little bit more here. I don't want to listen to the backstory. Well, maybe we could. A lot of people, I started early. It's 4:08. So let's listen to this together and see what's happening here.
Did Ms. Richins, the defendant, identify who was unresponsive and anything else about that person's condition?
Yes, she stated that it was her husband, Eric Richins, that was unresponsive, that he was cold to the touch and not breathing.
Could Kouri Richins' mom somehow be involved in the death of her son-in-law? It is a wild new development in the case of the infamous Utah mom accused of poisoning her husband and then writing a children's book about his death. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Yeah, you guys tell me what you think. If you already know about this or you don't, we're going to hear about it together. Let's get this episode out. Have a chill night. Not so chill on the like where our minds are jumping to because it's crazy. But I did want to be on here live with you. I was going to do a pre-record and I was like, everybody, every time I do a pre-record, you all think that I ditched out on you. So we're doing a live. Let's do it.
We have some notable updates for you in the story of Kouri Richins. Now, as we've reported here on Sidebar, this is the 34-year-old Utah mother of three who is accused of murdering her husband, Eric, in March of 2022. Prosecutors charged her with aggravated murder and drug possession after she allegedly put 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his drink before bed. Richins' housekeeper, a convicted drug dealer named Carmen Marie Lauber, had allegedly confessed to authorities that she supplied Richins with 15 to 30 fentanyl pills on 2 separate occasions, approximately 1 month before Eric's death, and said that Kouri paid her about $900 each time. Now, Kouri was arrested on murder and drug charges in May of 2023 after she wrote and published a children's book called Are You With Me? This was to help her sons deal with the loss of their father. Most famously,
and this
who
is
was
how
accused
most
of
people
murdering her husband, Eric, in
sorry.
March of 2022.
This is how most people know the case.
Change the
Where'd it go? I'm sorry about that. Oh, let's see her with the mom.
An eerie and interesting past. You see, during the course of the investigation into Richins and the death of Eric, authorities were looking into those connected to the pair's life, and one of those people is Miss Darden. And Miss Darden reportedly is very close with her daughter, spoke to her almost every day. If you've been following this case for a while, you know here that that name has come up before, because last year, prosecutors accused Kouri Richins of witness tampering after a
The walk the dog letter, folks. If you want to listen to that, if they don't show it now, I'll show you the walk the dog letter. She also named Sky Lazaro in the walk the dog letter and said it would be okay if, sorry if I'm too loud, but I have to turn volume. The walk the dog letter said Sky Lazaro, it would be okay to slip her in some teeth whitening strips. So she was just getting out of control. She was also trying to witness tamper, tell her family what to say they went to Mexico and got drugs with Eric. This lady's just, if you haven't heard about this case, please go back and start over and then go to Grizzly and watch all of it. There's hours and hours to watch.
Letter addressed to her mother, Lisa Darden, was found in her jail cell. The letter allegedly instructs Richins' brother to testify falsely about how Eric got the drugs. It said, allegedly, quote, "Here is what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronnie," meaning her brother. "You would probably have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it." Eric told that he got pain pills and
Now, this is the letter that they found, and she named it Walk the Dog, which has a meaning, which means she's leading this case. So they're talking about it now. We don't have to go back. If you go to the first episode, I showed you the actual letter.
Fentanyl from Mexico from workers on the ranch. In other words, trying to link Eric's death to the drug trade in Mexico. That's what the allegation was from reading this letter. Now, Richins denied any kind of wrongdoing with this letter. She claimed that what she wrote in the letter was part of a fictional mystery book that she was writing about time served in a Mexican prison. But court documents read, quote, "Its audience, content, and purpose are readily apparent. The defendant is asking her mother to facilitate witness tampering involving her brother, seeking to have her brother support a false factual narrative." By the way, this came after authorities say that on a separate occasion, Richins had held up a letter on a video call with her mother so she could take pictures of it and read it. And she also apparently read to her mother a letter that was addressed to her by another inmate. Apparently, these letters haven't been found, but it does add an interesting dynamic to this. The state ended up filing a motion to cut off contact between Richins and her mother and brother, but the court didn't agree, said this didn't amount to witness tampering. Okay, with that in mind, let's go back to what we're talking about right now, the unsealed search warrant with respect to Lisa Darden.
Yeah, this thing's crazy. This case is all over the place. So if you haven't heard about it, definitely should go look into it. There's a lot to consume. If you want to take your mind off of a case that's so dark and heavy, that really where there's no new evidence, in a lot of these cases, there's not. Like, I didn't want to come on here today and talk about where Sebastian Rogers and talk about right now Seth and all the drama and the PIs. And I'd rather talk about this crazy lady and what she can come up with an excuse for and her antics, and put awareness out there that there's women like this, that, yeah, greed is the root of all evil, folks. And he didn't even die from that sandwich. That was this is just like a drama episode. He actually passed away from a Moscow mule she gave him, celebrating a purchase of a house that he didn't even want.
Kouri Richins' mother. It is our understanding that this search warrant was for all electronic communication devices belonging to Darden. The warrant was executed back in May of 2023. Now, we don't know what was found, if it resulted in any evidence, or if it related to the Richins case in any way. But here is where it takes an interesting turn. You come to find out that according to Detective Jeff O'Driscoll, Miss Darden was living with a woman back in 2006. They were in a romantic relationship. And in April of that year, this woman, quote, died unexpectedly. The autopsy indicated that the woman died, of all things, an overdose of oxycodone, drug poisoning.
Wow.
Here is where it gets stranger. According to the warrant written by Detective O'Driscoll, quote, further investigation showed that Lisa Darden had been named as the beneficiary of her partner's estate a short time before her death. The female did have current prescriptions for oxycodone.
Now, Eric didn't, but that's why she's trying to say that they went to Mexico and they did all that. It's just, yeah, there's so many things to this case, and she hasn't even made it to a pretrial. That just got pushed back. So I figure I'd let you guys know about this case. So if you haven't heard about it, catch up.
And reportedly struggled with abusing her meds. But the warrant goes on to say that this woman who died was, quote, not in a state of recovery from addiction at the time of her death. Based on my training and experience, this would likely rule out the possibility of an accidental overdose. So first, I should tell you, we don't know exactly what became of this, whether Miss Darden was investigated by law enforcement in connection with this woman's death. Nothing to indicate that she was arrested or anything like that. Could be a number of...
Nothing did come, but we do want to know, we want you to know that Lisa was there at like 4 a.m. when Eric was passed away. So she either helped, or she gave her the idea, or she was just there to support her daughter. We don't know. There's Mr. Eric, poor guy.
2022. Prosecutors charged her with aggravated murder and drug possession after she allegedly put 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his drink before bed. Richins' housekeeper,
Wait, I don't know what I did there.
Tampering. Okay, with that in mind, let's go.
I'm sorry,
This
I'm like
woman who
off
died
today.
was, quote, not...
Let's go to where we're supposed to go.
She was criminally charged alongside her daughter, which,
Okay,
let me be
there
clear
we
again,
are.
there's no evidence
Sorry,
at this time to
folks.
suggest that, other than what we're hearing now from this arrest warrant. I'm just making the legal point. Unless that were the case, unless that were to happen, whatever occurred with Richins' mother is irrelevant. It will not come into Richins' criminal trial. Now, we do have a response from Kouri Richins' camp, more specifically her attorney, Sky Lazaro, who we have actually interviewed previously here on Sidebar with respect to other cases. The statement reads, quote, Summit County is well aware that opioid addiction and fentanyl overdose is a rampant problem throughout the country. According to the CDC, 150 people die every day from overdoses related.
Thank you, Carly. Thank you for gifting that membership. I hope somebody that really needs a membership gets it. And Sky Lazaro is sticking to her story with this, folks. Crazy.
To synthetic opioids like fentanyl. Not only was Summit County the first Utah county to file a lawsuit against big pharma opioid manufacturers and distributors, in 2022, Park City Police, the Summit County Sheriff, Summit County Attorney, and Park City School District issued a joint statement to its citizens warning they're finding an increasing amount of fentanyl, a drug fueling a surge in accidental overdoses nationwide. The fact that Ms. Darden's significant other was one of the millions that suffered from and ultimately succumbed to opioid addiction is hardly suspicious. It is tragic and unfortunately quite common. The fact that Ms. Darden was the beneficiary of her romantic partner's life insurance policy is also not unique.
No, it's not. And we don't believe in coincidences around here. The lawyer's name is Sky Lazaro, and she is a bulldog. She's also very expensive. So we don't know. They called it irreconcilable differences. We don't know if Kouri ran out of money or just the walk the dog letter, or, Kouri's very difficult. She's done a lot of things. She punched Eric's sister in the throat when they she went to go open the safe and take cash out of it after he had passed away, and she punched her in the throat and got charged with that as well.
It only demonstrates that her circumstances are no different than most families in America. To suggest otherwise is nothing more than a baseless conspiracy theory. Now, of course, that could all be true. And that could also be one of the reasons why Ms. Darden wasn't investigated. Perhaps that they thought that this was a case of an overdose, a case of an addiction. Of course, we are looking at it now in a different lens. And Detective O'Driscoll is looking at it in a different lens, given what has happened to Kouri Richins. But we also heard a response from Greg Skordas. This is the spokesperson for Eric Richins' family. Skordas says, quote, anytime this case gets some notoriety, it opens up a wound to the family. Goes on to say, nothing about this seems really surprising because we always felt that Kouri's mother was in some way involved in this. He goes on to say, quote, this is just more, I think, evidence against Kouri, even though it's purportedly looking at her mother. The parallels are really very similar and kind of spooky. Well, we may learn a little bit more information about Richins and evidence against her and maybe her mom, because
you see how different she looks than when she first came to court. She tried to come all sobby looking, bad skin, Kouri. when you go to prison, you're not going to get your Botox and your skincare, girl. You're just not. Don't poison your husband, people. Now, I want you to know they had a prenup agreement, so she wasn't going to get much if she left. So she had a handyman boyfriend and decided to do this, I believe. Again, she's only been charged, and the hearing got pushed back. So we have time to wait and watch her shenanigans.
It is being reported that a preliminary hearing is scheduled to start April 17th. Now, in Utah, a preliminary hearing is where the court, a judge, will listen to all kinds of evidence put forward by the prosecution, including witness testimony, and the defense will have an opportunity to respond as well. But the judge will have to determine if there is sufficient probable cause to show the crime was committed and that the defendant was the person who committed the crime. If there is not sufficient probable cause, the case gets dismissed. If there is, it moves its way forward to a later trial. And in our experience, sometimes preliminary hearings are where we...
And we know the preliminary hearing got pushed, and she lost her lawyers. Now, we can always talk about the Madeline Soto case, folks. If I start talking about that, I'll get 600 people on here. However, there's no really big news. I got out what I wanted to say. I'm still talking to CM. I have a take that I want to talk about and some information that I want to share with you, but I thought I'd take a break. I have plenty of cases to cover. Oh my God, I don't have enough time to cover all the cases. So yeah, feel free to send them to me. Will I have the time? Sometime I will, but this is one that interests me, and I've been covering it, so I thought I'd let you guys know. Breaking news, her lawyers are gone. I feel like it's another Sarah Boone case.
We learn new information that prosecutors have against the defendant that we did not know about beforehand. So we will definitely keep a close eye on that.
All right, let's stop that. We don't want to get doxxed for their, that's not even the right word. We don't want to get anything for using their music. So I'm going to show you 3 shocking developments. This was from a day ago. I just really want you guys to know who Sky is. I want you to see her working. Hopefully they show her in court. If not, I'll play some of the preliminary stuff.
Identify who was unresponsive and anything else about that person's condition.
Yes, she stated that it was her husband.
Sorry, this is not the one. I'm off a little bit today, folks. I got a call from my wife earlier, and she said that the hotel didn't rebook us our room. And so they didn't rebook us our room, which means we had to move out with 30 minutes notice. They had a room for us, but the room that they had for us was way different, and we only had 30 minutes to get out. So that sucks. So I'm a little bit off on my game face today. You might not be able to tell. And I just got a haircut. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I'm going to show you the shocking developments, and I want you to see Sky at work. Even though I don't believe her, damn, she's a good attorney. All right. And I don't think she's hot. She looks crazy. She looks like a witch.
You back on June 18 at 9 a.m. I wish you the best of luck.
After a hearing is canceled at the last minute in Kouri Richins' murder case, her attorney asked to withdraw from the case, and she wants the prosecutor kicked off the case, accusing them of listening into her phone calls with her lawyers. Those are just 2 recent developments in the case, and there's even more. Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Kouri Richins was supposed to appear in court last week for a hearing where a judge would determine whether there was enough evidence.
What's up, everybody? I just want to say hi to you all. Thank you for being here tonight, letting it be a chill night, and still being interested in the cases I'm interested in. On a side note, I do want justice for Maddie and Sebastian and Elijah Vu and Corey Mitchell, but this case has just got my mind spinning, and I want to get it out there, and I want you guys to know about it. I know that this stuff happens all the time.
For her to be bound over for trial in the death of her husband, Eric Richins. Kouri Richins faces a long list of charges in the 2022 murder of her husband, Eric. Kouri has pleaded not guilty. She's accused of poisoning Eric Richins with fentanyl so she could collect millions in life insurance money after he died.
Crazy.
Prosecutors say that Kouri was in financial dire straits in her real estate business and that she had a paramour.
There's her phone number. Don't call her. And I don't know why they call the boyfriend a paramour. That's a weird choice. They're in like Utah. wipe. I know what a paramour is, but that's just really weird. Thank you, JoJo, for gifting a membership. Lots of people want memberships. Thank you, Melissa. You're amazing. Thank you, JoJo. You are. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Carly. Yeah, the hotel is BS. Luckily, the wife was there to move out in 30 minutes, but I'm not happy. I'm not a happy Jay, and the insurance company doesn't want to hear me. They actually left me a voicemail while I'm on here. So when I'm done, I'm going to get off and call them. I'm not happy at all.
More that she wanted to be with. Killing Eric, according to their theory, would have given her access to millions of dollars and allowed her to have sole custody of their children. Last week, the preliminary hearing was postponed after Kouri's lawyer said she would object to all of the prosecution's exhibits.
Ms. Lazar, may I ask you a direct question? Are you prepared today to waive any foundation
Look at her face.
or hearsay or other admissibility objections?
Just look at her face. Would you want to go up against her? I wouldn't want to go up against her. I would just say, I'm going to plead guilty. I'm not going to go up against this lady. But I don't think she likes Kouri. And you're right, Lynette. Every picture you see of Kouri annoys you. She has a snobby vibe. And so does Sky Lazaro, too. So can you imagine the two of them butting heads with each other? Not good.
Regarding any of these exhibits 19 through 65?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. It seems like what we need to do is just set a continued preliminary hearing where the state is prepared to lay foundation under 1102 and the other rules that would apply to a preliminary hearing for the evidence that it wants to.
And I appreciate you all for asking that. I do have a give, send, go. It's like a GoFundMe, but it doesn't take out all the things. I appreciate you. I want to say thank you to every single one of you. You guys showed so much love. If one of you has the link, Bree or Carly, show that so you could see all the people that have donated to that. I do appreciate you asking. I didn't want to come on today and talk about my sad story, but I also did not want to come on just because they freaking did that. So I'm still happy and I love you all for being here. And this is what I love doing. So I'm here.
Does that sound about right, Ms. Lazar?
Yes.
Okay. Do you need to change defendant's position at all with respect to exhibits 1 through 18?
At this point, Your Honor, we object to all of the exhibits.
Understood.
So now Sky Lazaro has filed a motion asking to be removed from the case. The ethical mandate for withdrawal results.
It's Lazaro, not Lazaro. It's Sky Lazaro. Get it right. I've been following her for a long time. All right, let's listen to this. It's Sky Lazaro.
From an irreconcilable and non-waivable situation. It first emerged from the civil cases in which the firm has been representing Ms. Richins, but is imputed to the firm as a whole and thus requires the firm to withdraw from its representation of the defendant in the criminal proceeding. The motion to withdraw said this issue came to the defense's attention at that hearing last week, where the prelim was rescheduled for June. And the defense wants the prosecutor removed from the case too. A motion accuses prosecutors of listening into phone calls between Richins and her attorney over the last year. They said they discovered this when they received the privileged phone calls in discovery. The motion says lead prosecutor Brad Bloodworth responded to questions from the defense about the calls being included in discovery. He wrote, Ramsey refuses to register for and use the HomeWave app that shields attorney-client calls. His calls are therefore recorded as any other call. Ramsey Hamadi is one of Kouri Richins' defense attorneys. The motion continues. Mr. Bloodworth goes on to state that the prosecution has been listening to at least a...
Now, this is all legal jargon, and I love legal jargon. So thank you for being here with me. This is really important to hear, and it's important that you know that she has 2 attorneys, really high-paid attorneys. So you know she was stealing money and getting the life insurance policies. She was a Home Depot worker when Eric found her. Nothing wrong with Home Depot workers. He was rich, and he did a prenup on purpose so she wouldn't do exactly what she's doing now.
Portion of the calls between Kouri and defense counsel since May 2023, and the entire prosecution team had been in possession of the calls for the entire period between May 2023 and December 2023. Bloodworth sent an email to the defense and other prosecutors the next day, writing about how the calls were recorded and turned over to prosecutors. He wrote, since May, Ramsey has deliberately refused to use the HomeWave app. According
All right, listen, Sky Lazaro, folks, it's if your first day here, I have another episode, but Sky Lazaro was Kouri Richins' attorney, the lady in black, the one with the mean looking face. And she's saying that they wouldn't give her time with her client, Kouri, and they were listening in on the calls, and there was always a police officer at the visits. So she's saying the prosecution is not, they're being biased and not letting them talk and do their thing. And yeah, nothing's wrong with Home Depot. What I'm saying is that Eric was rich. He knew she was working at Home Depot, and he did a prenup to protect himself, and she ended up killing him and trying to steal all his money.
According to Kouri, Ramsey thinks the app somehow bugs his phone. Also, according to Kouri, Ramsey knows that in refusing to use the app, the state maintains recordings of their calls. The email also included highlights from some of the calls between Kouri Richins and her family and how they wanted Sky Lazaro off the case. On November,
it's Sky Lazaro. Dang, you know, you should be lost, Kenzie Cush. If you don't know this case at all, she has a lover that just came out. We didn't know in the beginning that she was even seeing anyone else, and her defense attorney just quit on her. And we're talking about why this case is crazy, and we should just have a map and not even talk. Just put up a map and you guys could read it.
November 18th, there was a voice call with Renee at 12:23. Kouri did not like Ramsey at first, but now he is her favorite on the team. Ramsey wrote 90% of the filings. On November 19th, there was a voice call with Ronnie at 12:12. Kouri is done being here. Sky needs to get her the F out of here. Kouri considering firing Sky and putting Ramsey in charge. But back to the jail calls. The defense says the state having those calls and listening to them violated Kouri Richins' rights. Bloodworth said in an email that the state had not listened to the calls. He said that they would stop listening in the first few seconds once Ramsey Hamadi identified himself. And
see, this whole case is crazy. What she did's crazy. What's happening's crazy. What they're doing to Sky Lazaro's crazy. Sky Lazaro quitting's crazy. It's all crazy. And if you haven't been following it, I don't blame you for being confused. But I'm really interested in this crazy case.
Finally, the defense makes another claim. The jail corrections officers have violated Richins' rights by improperly going through documents marked attorney-client privilege in her cell. Sky Lazaro says this happened recently on March 26th. Lazaro said the notebook's pages were clearly marked attorney-client.
So, hey, I'm allegedly interested in this case. How about that? Allegedly. At the beginning of every show, it's alleged. All of it's alleged and for entertainment purposes only, folks. All right? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm nothing. Just an entertainer entertaining y'all. Thank you, Muma, for gifting a membership. I appreciate you all, folks. And everything is alleged until it's not. And even when it's not, it's still alleged. Everyone likes to sue nowadays, right?
Client privilege. The motion says the officer spent several minutes looking at every page of the notebook, during which defense counsel repeatedly told him he could not read the pages and was violating her client's constitutional rights. And apparently the prosecutor, Brad Bloodworth, was brought into this discussion. Lazaro claims that she was interrogated about the contents of the notebook and that the entire ordeal violated Richins' right to counsel. Lazaro also wants the court to suppress the so-called walk the dog letter. She says it should have never been filed publicly with the court. Prosecutors had originally said the letter asked Kouri Richins' mom and brother to lie at trial. But
see, how could this get any more crazy than like Sarah Boone, right? That was actually a letter in her cell. She was writing a letter and she tried to hide it, and the police officers found it and they brought it out, and then it went public. And she was going to send it to her mom and her brother to get them to tell a story. Anyway.
But it was later determined to be a privileged document and part of a fictional manuscript. I want to take just a short break from this update on Kouri.
No, we don't want to hear about
you and me learn the truth about
in your neighborhood. No, we don't want to hear about
Finder.com.
No, stop.
Over a year old at this point. So it was disappointing that it continues to get postponed. But she's in custody where she should be. The county attorney's office and the local law enforcement are doing a very good job. The case seems to be getting stronger by the day. So the delay isn't hurting the case at all. as you might expect, and the family's being patient and working with the prosecutors.
There's some drama now, though, being brought into the case. I mean, the case is kind of dramatic anyway, with all of these kind of
Kinda.
allegations of infidelity and, sadly, murder for life insurance money. Kouri Richins maintains that she didn't do this. But now we have Sky Lazaro saying, I want to be off the case. She's saying there's some type of, irrevocable, some issue coming up that she just learned of at the hearing last week. What are your...
You literally can't write a better fiction novel than what you get in real life, folks. In real life, there's crazy stuff happening every day, and we could be watching some crazy like science fiction thing, and you couldn't get a better movie or read a better book than this.
thoughts on that? Because obviously Kouri Richins was not happy with her, according to some of the things we've read in the documentation, but she's saying there's some kind of conflict that's arisen.
Yeah, we don't really know what that is. We do know that the law firm is a little frustrated because Kouri Richins has apparently run out of money, and they were not too happy about continuing to represent her for either low fees or no fees. But there was a civil case filed 2 years ago, right after Eric passed away, and it was involving Kouri on the one hand and Eric's estate on the other. And the same lawyers that were representing Kouri in the civil case commenced to represent her in the criminal case, which was filed a year later. So they're claiming that the conflict arose in connection with the civil case, which has been going for 2 years. So I can't imagine what they learned or what happened in that intervening time that would have caused them to suddenly discover that they have a conflict. And the only thing that may have occurred new is that the state filed its pretrial brief right before the preliminary hearing, just a couple days before, which outlined their evidence, who they were going to call, and some witness statements. And I think,
yeah, I was going to play that pretrial hearing, and it was really boring. And this is like, people don't, if you don't know the case, then you're kind of like, what am I listening to? So thank you for being here today. I love you all. Appreciate you. Let's continue. The pretrial was really boring. You didn't miss anything.
I think it may have caught the defense off guard a little bit, but for whatever reason, they not only moved to get themselves off the case, but they filed another motion to have the prosecuting attorneys removed from the case.
And I wanted to get to that. I mean, in that motion, they're saying, we received privileged phone calls in discovery. So the prosecution has been listening to our calls. Brad Bloodworth, in an email to the defense last December, said, we've only listened to maybe the first few seconds. Ramzi Hamadi, the one defense attorney, refuses to use this app that signals that this is a privileged call. So basically, the calls are recorded as any other call. We listen, we hear it's him, we stop listening. We're not listening to the contents of the call. But they dispute that. The defense disputes that and says, well, we're pulling out. Sky says, I'm pulling out of this case. Now you should pull out too. And this is why. But in that motion also, we learned that Kouri Richins wants this Ramzi guy apparently to be the lead attorney. She's not happy with Sky's performance on her case, and neither is her family.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like a woman thing. I wonder if they're butting heads. Sky will not let her take charge of it. I'll tell you that much. If you see Sky in court, she's not going to just sit back and let Kouri punk her like she's used to doing with everybody else. So that's probably why. I think when they say irreconcilable differences, it's because they're just not getting along.
I think there's some frustration with the delays in the case. And of course, if the law firm is recused and they can't represent her, then that would include all of the attorneys, including Ramzi, including Sky Lazaro, including the other two involved in the case. So just so you know, when a person calls from a correctional facility here in Utah and they call for an attorney, there's a prompt that you get that says all calls are being monitored. If you want this call to be privilege, or this is an attorney-client call, then you have to go into a different system. And apparently the attorney had not been doing that, because calls between inmates and their family are not privileged. They're not protected. The calls between inmates and their lawyers are, so long as the inmate recognizes and the lawyer recognizes that it's an attorney-client conversation. Sometimes the jail will listen to those calls and then realize, hey, wait a minute, this is an attorney-client call, and then they'll shut it down. And I think that's what's happened here.
Do you expect this motion to withdraw, to be granted? And what do you see happening with the prosecution? Do you see the prosecution being removed from the case?
I don't think there's any way they could get the prosecution removed.
Yeah, that would be interesting to get the prosecution removed. I haven't seen that. If you guys can cite a case where the prosecution got removed, that would be interesting. And her thriftiness, hello. Yeah, this case, if people are laughing, we're joking. There's no kids that passed away. There's nothing. Even the Watts one is sad. Chris Watts Wednesday is sad because the kids are involved today. We can just make fun of Kouri Richins and how dumb she was, what she did. We say a prayer for Eric Richins and his family because she put them through a lot. When you start following this case, you're going to get hooked, and you're going to have a lot to consume, folks. So go back after we're done with the live and watch the first episode on my show so you can see what the timeline is
from the case. I mean, you may get an individual prosecutor removed, but the office itself will probably stay on the case. And if not, they can have a neighboring county attorney handle the case. Salt Lake County's just bordering that county. There are several others.
Terrible.
So they could get another prosecutor. But with respect to their motion to withdraw, if it is an irreconcilable conflict, the judge probably has no choice but to let the attorneys off the case. The result of that would be a huge, long continuance. I mean, this case has already gone on for a year. We haven't even got to the preliminary hearing. This could cause another 6-8 months before there is a preliminary hearing.
So this is going to be another one of the Sarah Boone things. It gives us something to watch in between. Thank you, Muma, for the $5 super sticker. That it's going to be one of those cases where it drags on for years and years, but Kouri's not going to get out. I don't think so. She changed life insurance policies around and punched the sister in the throat. I mean, she's not going to get out anytime soon. And yeah, changing prosecution rarely happens. I just wanted to say thank you all for being here and hanging out with me today. After this, I'll head back and work on the insurance and all that stuff. But I get to pick my daughter up. That's a highlight of my day. I have a 9-year-old. That's amazing. She's going to be 10, going on 13.
And perhaps another year before the case gets in front of a jury.
Let's talk about the walk the dog letter. The defense is saying that it should be removed from the public docket. It was privileged. It was part of some fictional manuscript. It should never have been public, and it should be removed from the docket and suppressed. You're the spokesperson for Eric Richins' family. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they've sort of alleged that it was a privileged conversation, and even alleged it was an attorney-client conversation. I mean, Kouri wasn't asking her attorney to walk her dog. She was asking her mother to, and that's not necessarily a privileged conversation. There was some references in the letter to the attorney, but it was in the third person. It didn't say, Sky, you're my lawyer, you need to do this or that. It was tell Sky this, or this is the narrative we need to feed to Sky, which of course we looked at the letter and believed that they were trying to create a false narrative. Nonetheless, I don't see how that letter could deem to be privileged, because there is no expectation of privacy to inmates in the things that they write and the things that they send while they're incarcerated. And they know that. They're given that instruction very, very clearly when they're taken into custody.
The defense is also contending that, there was this visit in late March where Sky goes to the jail and she's basically interrogated about this notebook that was marked attorney-client privilege and about her being able to take it with her.
It's going to be another Sarah Boone Koberger case. That's heavy. I want to cover it, but with those 4 beautiful kids that were unalived, I can't even get into the Koberger because people will start yelling at me saying he's not guilty. He was stargazing, and Koberger was not stargazing that night. Allegedly, to me, he was allegedly not. I think he is he's like a Ted Bundy to me. And yeah, this case is like in another league, but it's going to be stalled.
And
I'll do a
the
recap.
Prosecutor was involved
As soon as I'm done with this, I'll do a quick recap of this case so you know what it's about.
in this as well. And there was discussion about this, and that there's this jail staff member going through the notebook, and that this is really hampering Kouri Richins' constitutional right to effective counsel.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly problematic. If she was writing a letter to her attorney and she marks it privileged, confidential, attorney-client privilege only, then it should have been protected. But if, for example, an inmate is getting information out of the jail simply by noting that it's an attorney-client conversation, and it's not, it's just being used that way to get to another source, that's inappropriate. And so it puts the jailers in a weird conundrum, because do they peek at it to make sure that it's legitimate? Do they let it go and assume that everything that's being said here is part of the attorney-client conversation? And it's a balancing that in this case caused some concern and some consternation between the assigned prosecutor and the defense attorney.
It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. Obviously, I know delays are frustrating for Eric Richins' family.
Oh, they've been incredibly difficult.
We have to say, allegedly, she's not coming out with a guilty verdict, in your opinion, okay? Always just start with that and you'll be fine. Thank you, JoJo, for gifting a membership. I appreciate you, all of you, greatly. And yes, I will check after. I'm sure if you sent me something that I got it, I heart it, whatever I can send you. I always send a thank you note when they let me send a thank you note. So thank you to everybody that's donated and is helping me out, helping the channel out, and just my situation right now.
But the boys are in very good shape. They're being taken care
That's
of
good
by
to hear.
family members. Kouri's in custody, and she will remain in custody for the foreseeable future. And that's reassuring as well. But ultimately, this case is going to have to get to trial, or is going to have to get resolved. Whether that occurs in 2024 or 2025 remains to be seen. But we'll be patient. We'll be respectful of the process. The judge has done a very good job. The county attorneys have done a very good job, and the defense attorneys have done what they think is the right thing. So yeah, the system is grinding slowly in this case, but it's moving forward.
Well, it will be really interesting to see what happens with this, what the judge decides on the walk the dog letter, obviously, and also on the motion to disqualify the prosecution, whether or not that is granted, and how the prosecution responds, because at this point they haven't responded. Greg Skordas, thank you so much.
You bet.
And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.
All right, so we're going to stop Anjanette Levy, and you guys are all here right now, so I'm going to just go ahead and show you. If you don't know this case and you're just hanging out, let's show you where it all started. We did that on the last episode, and I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but I'm going to do a quick recap of what the heck we're talking about. They call her the Utah mom accused of poisoning husband, and so many more details have come out since then. So let's watch this together.
Passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a
Sure.
1-year anniversary for us. And he was 39. It completely took us all by shock.
Now put your deception detective hat on when she's talking. Look at how she never takes her jacket off during the interview. After the interview, the ladies on that show said it was really weird because she was really shut off to them. She never took her jacket off. The words she was saying was really weird and odd. And listen to the things she said. It was really unexpected. And just watch her. This is where it all started.
That was Kouri Richins talking about the book she wrote about grief for her children. Now she's accused of murdering their father. We take a closer look at the timeline in the case so far. Welcome back to Sidebar here on Law and Crime. I'm Anjanette Levy. Kouri Richins is the Utah mother of 3 accused of murdering her husband, Eric, by poisoning him last year.
There you go.
It's a sad case, but what makes it sadder?
All right. This is the very beginning, folks. This is where it all started. Yeah, it took us all by shock. It's weird because it didn't really take a lot of people by shock that knew her. They figured, and he married her with a prenup, knowing that she might steal his money, and she tried to poison him. So this is where it all started.
And stranger is the fact that Richins wrote a book about grieving for their 3 sons and went on TV to promote it a month before she was arrested. Police in Park City, Utah say Richards was anything but a grieving widow. They claim she is a calculated killer. This case really starts back in 2015. Between that year and 2017, prosecutors say that Kouri Richins bought 4 life insurance policies for her husband, totaling $2 million. Financial problems are really a hallmark of Kouri and Eric's relationship. In September 2020, a court document says that Eric Richins found out that Kouri had spent $250,000 of a home equity line of credit on their home. But he also found out she had withdrawn at least $100,000 from his bank accounts and spent more than $30,000 using his credit cards. The court document also says Kouri was taking money Eric had set aside for his business to pay quarterly taxes. That total, more than $134,000. When Eric confronted his wife about it, the court documents say that she agreed to pay the money back. Then the next month, Eric consulted both a divorce lawyer and an estate planning attorney. He also changed his will and formed a living trust and placed his sister in charge of it, while also changing the beneficiary of his $500,000 life insurance policy. Fast forward to January 2022, court documents say Kouri changed the beneficiary for a $2 million policy that Eric had to her. The following month, Kouri is accused of contacting a drug dealer and asking for fentanyl, which is a very powerful narcotic.
Isn't this lady the mother of the year? Let's give it up for the mother of the year, the author, the realtor, and the mother of 3, folks. Damn, this lady's crazy. Thank you all for being here with me and coming in. And even if you don't know about the case, just hanging out with me on a midweek Wednesday.
Narcotic. That drug dealer told police, according to court documents, that he handed those pills directly to Kouri. Then on Valentine's Day of last year, Eric said that he ate a sandwich that Kouri had made for him that had a love note on it. He broke out in hives, according to court documents, and had trouble breathing. He told a friend that he believed that Kouri was trying to poison him. Later that month, police say Kouri contacted the drug dealer again, asking for, quote, Michael Jackson stuff. That would be propofol, the powerful anesthetic that killed Michael Jackson. Of course, she was again looking for fentanyl pills. The following month, prosecutors say Kouri had a conversation with a moneylender who she owed a whopping $1.8 million. She also owed nearly $200,000 in taxes, and she owed Eric more than $500,000. The day after that conversation, on March 4th, 2022, Eric Richins died after drinking a Moscow Mule. The medical examiner said that Eric Richins.
This is where the medical examiner came in. People were asking earlier about it. This is the story. I don't know why she didn't just, I don't know why people do stuff like that for money. Everybody, this was a good father, and I'm sure he was a good husband. I have no idea. Money is the root of all evil, everybody. It truly is.
Richins had more than 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system, and that fentanyl had been ingested by mouth. According to court documents, Richins told police she fell asleep in one of her son's rooms that night, but prosecutors say her phone records show otherwise and that she was on the move. 2 days later, prosecutors say Kouri drilled into her husband's safe to get cash. Then in March of this year, Kouri Richins published a children's book that talked about grieving. She said she wrote it for her 3 sons to help them as they mourned the loss of their father. She also went on television to publicize it.
Joining us now is author of Are You With Me? Kouri Richins to share.
Look at her posture and how she talks. Watch it carefully. Put your deception detective hats on.
Her 3 C's to helping kids cope with grief. And Kouri, I want to start with your story. What happened in your personal life?
So my husband passed away unexpectedly last year. So it's March 4th was a 1-year anniversary for us. And he was 39. It completely took us all by shock. And we have 3 little boys, 10, 9, and 6. And you know, my kids and I kind of wrote this book on the different emotions and grieving processes that we've experienced last year, and, you know, hoping that it can kind of help other kids, you know, deal with this and kind of, you know, find happiness some way or another.
Earlier this month, Kouri Richins was charged with aggravated murder for Eric's death. She's in jail right now and will be back in court next month. Joining me to discuss the case of Eric Richins is Dr. Michelle Dupree. She is a retired forensic pathologist and is coming back here on Sidebar. She's been on before. So Dr. Dupree, welcome back. Thanks for.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard the story, that was the simple version of the story until she complicated it all up instead of just trying to go with it, get off, or do whatever she was going to do, get out of it. She had to do that. Yeah, are you with me? Did you see me when we went pee? Don't you see me? You're killing me. All right.
For joining us. First of all, your thoughts about this case.
Well, you know, poison is considered sort of the favorite of women in all out of history. So I'm not so surprised that this would be a poisoning case. But the husband had an extensive amount of fentanyl in his system, and that is a lot. I think it was 5 times more of the dose. So somebody wanted to kill him for sure.
So that's interesting. And we have some other evidence that goes along with this, according to the prosecution, at least. There are text messages in which he feared she was trying to harm him. Text messages where she's asking a drug dealer allegedly for the Michael Jackson stuff. We know that's propofol, but she was wanting something that was going to basically put somebody to sleep, possibly forever. She ended up getting fentanyl, according to the court documents. So if you're the defendant in this case, who's Kouri Richins, how do you defend this? Do you just try to say, oh, I was getting that stuff because my husband wanted me to get it for him? Or, I mean, is there a way to defend against this?
Well, I mean, certainly that would be an argument.
Her argument is that she didn't do it at all and that the drug dealer is a liar. And she's a liar because she's a drug dealer. That's actually her defense.
Say that he wanted her to get it for him. But there's no argument that I can think of that you would give him that much,
right?
Unless you were trying to kill him. That's just an overdose.
Thank you.
Would
Kim.
she say, though, and it sounds like they have some proof, according to at least the state, that it was ingested orally. It wasn't injected. Usually when people, take fentanyl, they either inject it or possibly smoke it. So if they can prove that it was ingested orally through this Moscow Mule, is there really any way to defend against this? I've never heard of people actually mixing fentanyl as a street drug into something and ingesting it that way to get a high.
Well, you're right. That's a bit of an unusual way to do it to yourself. And I guess,
or to put it in your sandwich, that's a little bit unusual too. I wonder how you don't taste it. I don't even know. I know nothing about fentanyl. I didn't know that you smoke it or whatever. I know they put it in things and people OD all the time. It is interesting. They call it poisoning, but I guess anything would be poisoning if it's something that's going to put someone over the edge, because he's not overdosing. I guess that would be, I don't know. That's interesting.
a defense would be that, he did it himself, and wanted to commit suicide. And that's where the investigation would play a huge part, because as you know, in law enforcement, we look at that totality of circumstances, everything surrounding that case. And I think some of the things that you've mentioned, her asking about certain drugs and then asking for the Michael Jackson stuff, that's all going to play a part in this. But, in reality, that's what's going to have to be proven. Did he take it himself, or did she give it to him? And that's something for the investigation to pull out.
Have you ever heard of anybody ingesting orally fentanyl?
I have. The other most common way is.
And I also wanted to say, you're right, Kenzie, cops have OD'd before from getting a stash. I've seen that. They'll get a stash from somebody and a couple of grains will get to them, and then they'll have to use the EpiPen, not police officer. So just a few grains will do that to you. And she used 5 times the lethal amount, which could have just been 20 grains or 25 grains. I don't know.
Through patches, fentanyl patches. And they'll have, 100 on their body. And this is when they most likely are trying to commit suicide. But again, ingesting it's a little bit easier than trying to get a needle and do it, yourself, if that was the case. And certainly it's easier to do that to someone rather than try to inject them, when they're sleeping or something like that. So it's not unheard of.
Very interesting. I find this case to be fascinating, also incredibly disturbing. I mean, I think it's really disturbing. The state kind of lays out this timeline in the court documents, and they have this timeline. They have text messages. They have Kouri Richins saying things. Does it seem like a pretty good case to you? Like a pretty solid case for the prosecution?
I remember before she answers this was right when the case started. Now we've got a whole bunch of other things that have happened, and I think the prosecution has a much more solid case now. Yeah, folks, there's a lot of things with fent. That's not even a good word to say on YouTube, but it's an awful, awful epidemic, and people are asking for it to be made in their pills. Street usage is off the chain. Awful. It's an awful drug.
I think that when you take a look at all of this other information, all of the other circumstances, I would think that it does. He has told several people that if something happened to him, to look at her. She had made him a sandwich at one time, and he got immediately sick after taking that. So I think that there's a lot of circumstantial evidence. But again, this is going to play out in court, and it's going to depend on what the jury believes. I think they have a strong case.
Well, Dr. Michelle Dupree, it's always great talking with you. Thank you so much for coming back on. We appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
That's it for this.
All right, folks. That's it. I know that we covered what I wanted to cover anyway. I definitely wanted to just go over this case and have an easy time talking to my crime crew and just say hello to everyone. Get out there. Make sure I'm staying out there. I'm not forgetting about Maddie or Sebastian or anybody. And I know it's Watts Wednesday, but this is just an interest that I have. I know Carly has interest in it. She sent me a clip from, thank you again, JoJo for show, or just Joe. If you want another membership, folks, so if you're active on here, you'll get a membership. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Carly sent me a clip from Grizzly True Crime saying that the defense was able to be dropped. They requested it. And so, yeah, I was interested. She was interested. I've been following this case. For those of you that are on my channel, just following either Sebastian or Maddie, I understand. And I appreciate you all. And thank you guys just for being here and just watching with the community. Yeah, it can be ingested several ways. And I love you too, Wendy. Thank you so much. Thanks for being on here and telling us about these things. And thanks for spending time with me. I love doing true crime cases, covering them and hoping for justice with you all. Hi, Her Thriftiness. Thank you for coming. You guys are the only reason that I can come here and not talk to myself every day. Relax, let go of the negativity, enjoy your free time. Absolutely. Thank you, Kenzie. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Thank you all. I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. I appreciate you. I'm going to go help the wife out and figure out what we're going to do next. On that note, I will more than likely see you all tomorrow because there's probably going to be some breaking news and I can't stay away. Good night, y'all.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty?